SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
When banking starts to feel less personal, you know where to find us. Community Bank. Deep roots, local people, personal banking. Visit communitybank.net. Member FDIC.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning and welcome in. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and on SuperTalk TV. We're brought to you every day, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. The C Spire text line is open to you. Always makes me smile when we get somebody that jumps in before the words begin, like James in Oxford this morning when he just says, good morning and have a great day. James, thank you, man. To you as well. Appreciate you chiming in. C Spire text line 601-879-4395. I'm Richard Cross. The other voice that you hear momentarily is Lance Tolbert. Good morning.
Good morning, RC. How's it going today?
Brother, when I stepped out the back door this morning,
it was a cooker.
Ooh. Oh, ho, ho. I mean, at 5:58 a.m., and you step outside, you're like, ooh, it's hot.
Yeah.
Ooh, that air's thick.
Ooh. Feels like rain, you know? I know it looks like there may be some in y'all's neck of the woods, but it just feels heavy.
Yeah.
It's just hot, though, I guess. It's beating you up. I mean, I worked myself to death yesterday, dude. I sweated many gallons of sweat out. Oh, man, I was exhausted. I woke up exhausted this morning. I'm ready to be here, but the body just, with all that,
needed a little longer.
Yeah, I needed like an ice bath, I think, this morning. Going real well.
I don't guess I had the super sweaty day yesterday. I had that Sunday, but yard work?
Oh, God, man, I'm telling you, just plenty to do.
Okay.
Always plenty to do to keep everything looking good and make yourself feel good about stuff. But, yeah, I kind of about worked myself about as much as I could yesterday, I think. I said, I gotta stop. And,
little ice water and a sit-down for a minute, right?
Yeah, some sweet tea, a little fan, air conditioner, and, I was feeling a lot better. But, it's just so hot. I hope everybody's taking care and taking precaution. I probably drank a gallon of sweet tea and water yesterday, It just kept coming out, though. That was the problem. As soon as I drank it, boy, I would sweat it right back out.
Jonathan, I think this is 2 days in a row he's been on the lawnmower early. He says, good morning, stay cool, have a great day. This was yesterday. Listen to y'all while cutting the grass with the earbuds in. I know it's only July, but the cool fall mornings cannot come soon enough.
I agree. I love the summer, but, man, can't wait for just that moment where you get that little bit of cool blast early in the morning.
JB says our local station said heat index 112 to 117 in Meridian today. Good morning, guys, from Southeast Arkansas. Hello, friend.
That's let's see, Southeast, that's Delta land, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got to call Lance Moon Pie, RC and Moon Pie. I mean, you might be onto something.
Not bad. I like it.
You might be onto something. So a sampling across the state, Okolona, home of the Okolona Mall, 96 degrees with a heat index of 111. It's going to get all the way down to 77 tonight. Mostly sunny and humid. Only about a 5% chance of rain in Okolona. Dehydration, heat stroke, possibilities. Got to be careful. 99 degrees today in Indianola with a heat index of 116. Mostly sunny and hot. Thunderstorm possible. About 55% today in Indianola. Laurel, you're going to be at 97, heat index at 108. Sunny to partly cloudy, thunderstorm possible. Just got a chance. About a coin flip on that. Bay St. Louis, 95 degrees, heat index around 102, and it's going to barely get below 80 in the overnight hours tonight. Windy with bands of rain and possible thunderstorms from Tropical Storm Bertha's influence. About a 90% chance of rain. And with that, a potential for flooding rain, damaging winds, and isolated tornadoes. Heat advisory in effect. Okay, it is rare that you have a heat index of 102 on a day where there's a 90% chance of heavy rain. It's like taking a shower? A hot shower?
That's what it sounds like.
I mean, if it's bands of it, like just kind of, maybe it's, you get a little bit that rolls in and the sun immediately comes back out, and that happens over and over, I guess. I don't know. We will talk more about Tropical Storm Bertha coming up in just a little bit. Ernest Hemingway was born on this day, July 21st, in 1899. The American novelist and short story writer. Won a Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. He was known for his classics like The Old Man and the Sea and For Whom the Bell Tolls, and a sparse, influential writing style.
I love The Old Man and the Sea.
Yeah?
Great book. It was one of the ones that you read when you were, you had to read it as a kid or something.
Mm-hmm.
One of your English classes.
Yeah.
You're like, thank you, teacher. That was very cool. I've always appreciated that one.
Get The Old Man in the Sea, The Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love The Old Man in the Sea because he's just him. It's him just fighting against this beast of a fish, and it carries him all over. It's kind of like an Odysseus story almost, just set in the Gulf of America.
You gone back and read the Odyssey again?
I've read it quite a few times. It's one of my favorites. Just the story itself is an amazing piece of poetry. Unique of its era, but I'm going to see the movie. I'm going to check it out, see if it matches up. I've heard good things so far. I think a lot of the woke stuff was put into the trailer so that it would get some eyes on the prize. But Christopher Nolan's an excellent director, producer-ish type guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's going to put a product out there that's going to be great. So just hope it's accurate, though. That's all that matters to me.
I don't know the last time that I've seen as much social media conversation about a film as has existed over the weekend about the Odyssey.
Everybody says, the ones that have been, it seems that the reviews are good and people are impressed with it. But, I think I've
heard it's great. I've heard it's woke. I've heard the actors are woke, so you can't trust the acting. I've heard it's not historically accurate. I've heard it strays far too from the novel, all of the reactions. Here's an idea. You go see it yourself and see what you think.
There you go. You going to make it, you think? Are you a movie goer, or do you wait till it comes out on one of the streaming services?
I'm kind of no and no.
Yeah.
I very, very rarely do I watch movies. Occasionally. Far more. I am more interested in going to see Young Washington than I am the Odyssey.
That's what I'm trying to debate. Which one I'm gonna pay to go see, which one I'm gonna wait till it comes out.
I mean, you could do a doubleheader.
Yeah, I don't know if I can sit still that long.
5 hours between the two of them might be a lot.
Yeah, not sure I can pull that one off.
Tell you what, I think I could sit and watch 5 hours of Andy Fife. Of the Andy Griffith Show. Don Knotts, born on this day in 1924. Barney Fife. He was in Three's Company also.
Yeah, Mr. Roper, right?
Yeah, I did not remember that.
Yeah, he had great outfits. He always wore the leisure suits.
Okay.
That was his thing.
Yeah.
Very different than the Andy Griffith Show.
The great, which is an overused word. The great and talented and gone far too soon, Robin Williams, born on this day in 1951. He was a star in Mrs. Doubtfire. Great in Good Will Hunting. He was the genie of the lamp in Aladdin. Played in Mork and Mindy. And, of course, Good Morning Vietnam. And so many others. Just a talent.
Unlike any other.
A unique talent. Seemingly a really good soul, too, but a troubled soul. More coming up. Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk, Mississippi. Glad to be with you. Starting off this Tuesday morning, July 21st. We are back right after this.
This heart of stone.
Good morning from the Venable Glass.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
On with the show.
Is back. Holy smokes. On Super Talk, Mississippi.
Got a message on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Said Dead Poets Society was a good one.
Yes.
For Robin Williams.
Oh, and correction, Norman Fell was Mr. Roper. Don Knotts was Mr. Furley, so thank you to the 228 for correcting me on that. I felt off. I knew there was another guy in there. I just couldn't remember who it was. It's been a while. Been a while.
Yeah, it has been.
Hey, this is not a test. This is rock and roll. Time to rock it from the Delta to the DMZ. Is that me or does that sound like an Elvis Presley movie? Viva Danang. Oh, Viva Danang. Danang me. Why don't they get a rope and hang me? Hey, is it a little too early for being that loud? Hey, too late. It's 0600. What's the O stand for? Oh, my God, it's early.
The great Robin Williams.
And Bruno Kirby, who's like, what, isn't that like his boss in there? They're just sitting there with their mind blown as they're watching him turn this on and go, what is this? This is radio?
Happening here. American actor Josh Hartnett was born in 1978. You may know him from Pearl Harbor or Black Hawk Down, The Virgin Suicides, and some of his recent television work. Juno Temple, born in 1989, the British actress known for her roles in Ted Lasso, The Offer, Killer Joe, and Atonement. How about the guy that, until 6 weeks ago, you might not have known, but you know him now. Born in the year 2000, Erling Haaland, the Norwegian soccer superstar, prolific striker for Manchester City and Norway.
Okay, if you say so.
Oh, no, you don't know who I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, so you really didn't lock in on the World Cup.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
No. I mean,
this is this big, tall, blonde, long-haired Norwegian that people just fell in love with.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Eric Holland. And Brian Hadad would have already known who he was because, Premier League guy and international soccer guy. But anyway, there you go.
I like his spelling of Holland, too. He's got a bunch of A's in there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
On this day in history, July 21st, Herostratus set fire to the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus. It was one of the 7 wonders of the world in a bid for fame.
Oh, so he was a lunatic. Okay.
Or infamy.
Yeah.
1403, this is one of Lance's favorites, the Battle of Shrewsbury.
Yeah, gotta love that one.
King Henry IV of England defeated a rebel led by Henry Hotspur Percy.
How do you get the name Hotspur?
His first major battle where English archers fought each other on English soil. Oh, yeah. It did appear as if Erling Haaland made a stop at Buc-ee's while he was in town.
Oh, good.
Actually, I think it was a high-end taxidermist. He bought a stuffed raccoon that was clutching a bottle of whiskey.
Nice.
See, I thought you might like that.
Man. This guy's getting more popular with me as we move through the show here.
Yeah.
Learning about the young man.
Napoleon Bonaparte won the Battle of the Pyramids in Egypt against the Mamluk forces, helping to secure French control during the Egyptian campaign. Napoleon was kind of you win some, you lose some, you win some.
He didn't give up easy, that's for sure.
No. Boy, you had to really squash out that little fella.
You had to put him on an island somewhere.
Yeah. 1861, the first Battle of Bull Run, or the first Manassas, if you prefer. It was the first major battle of the American Civil War, happened near Manassas, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. Confederate forces with a surprising victory. 1865, in Springfield, M.O., Wild Bill Hickok killed Davis Tutt and what is thought to be the first true Western showdown or quick draw duel.
So you had, on this day, the first real Western duel, and you also had archers firing at each other for the first time on English soil. Interesting stuff.
Big day.
Yeah, big day.
You also, on this day in 1873, had Jesse James and the James Younger gang commit their first successful train robbery. They did so near Adair, Iowa.
That's the trifecta there, then.
I mean, like how the West was won.
Yes, sir.
And then there was the Scopes monkey trial in Dayton, Tennessee. It ended on this day. The teacher, John Scopes, convicted and fined $100 for teaching evolution in public schools, highlighting the evolution versus creationism debate. Don't you know that was salacious 101 years ago?
Oh, you know it.
Whew.
Trial of the century.
Oh. In 1944, U.S. forces landed on Guam during World War II. It was also the aftermath of the July 20th plot against Hitler. We talked about that yesterday, a plot that did not work. 1969. So I mentioned this yesterday, but there is a touch of confusion on the date, although really it has to do with time zones more than anything. But hey, they walked on the moon, so worth another mention. Apollo 11, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on the moon. It was July 20th in UTC. Was that Universal Time? But in many time zones, it is celebrated as happening on the 21st. And some interesting symmetry. In 2011, NASA's space shuttle program ended with the landing of Atlantis on mission STS-135. But it's kind of back again, right?
That's a great question. There's a newer version, right?
Yeah, but
much the same, though.
We shooting our own rockets? Is NASA shooting the rockets? Are they NASA astronauts? Are they SpaceX astronauts? But I think NASA's back. And we got a space military now, too.
That's right. You got the Space Force out there.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder how many of the things people are seeing in the sky. Maybe the Space Force.
What are their patrol vehicles like?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's like the anti-gravity stuff.
C-Spire text line. Jason in Starkville, did Guam end up tipping over?
It made a full, flipped over and then flipped over again.
Yeah.
So we're good.
Bit of a...
Yeah, you washed it off.
Bit of a tail over teacup over. What does that say?
You got
head over heels.
Head over heels. There we go. Yeah.
360 degrees. Mm-hmm. What is that saying? Teacup over kettle, or you've heard that before?
Yeah, I just can't. I can't put it together though. It's early.
Yeah. Jeff in Grenada. I've got a new house. Looked out the window in the backyard this week, and a monkey was in my backyard. No joke.
Really? Oh my God! Where do you Grenada too? Okay.
Huh. JB, wasn't the duel over a pocket watch? We'll go with that.
Yeah, it sounds either that or a lady. Somebody was late for the date or something, you know. Add over tea kettle.
I don't think add.
No, tail over tea kettle.
Yeah,
tail over tea kettle. Gotcha. Yeah, that was a that one.
Robert in Columbus reminding us about Jumanji.
Oh, great movie.
Robin Williams. Yeah.
Yeah, he played some parts in that. And it was a night at the museum, too, right? I mean, he was Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, yeah. You've been there. You've been to the Natural History Museum?
I don't know, not that one.
All right, so the Natural History Museum, Upper West Side, New York, it's where Night at the Museum was filmed. Yeah. Not a big museum guy. Not me. I'm not. I don't know if I'm not cultured enough, if I get bored too easily, whatever. Not a big museum guy. That place is amazing. I mean, it's massive, first of all. But when you walk through the front doors, Lance, and they get the queue where you get in line and hand off your tickets and all that good stuff, there is a brontosaurus that feels like he stretches from one end of a football field to another.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, too.
Massive. Yeah. And, I mean, when you think you've seen all of the eras or the rooms or the exhibits, just to walk into another one, and they're all connected.
Oh, and that's the thing. I love a museum. I worked in one and absolutely love them.
Yeah.
But, they're very stodgy at times. I love the ones the ones that you kind of can get close to stuff. And that museum, the Natural History Museum, looks as that you would be able to get very close, see the things and the fossils. Good Lord, man, things are huge.
We had a rainy, cold day in New York one day and said, we got to find something inside to do. It's like, hey, let's do this. Man, it was great. Highly recommend. All right, we got news and sports for you coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Seabrook with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
There's a black man with a black cat.
Little Cougs this morning.
I love the Coug, man.
Oh, cat's good.
Yeah.
All right, some news headlines for you this morning. Tropical storm Bertha has now officially formed due south of Panama City, about 110 miles into the Gulf, and it is moving westward, west and northwest at the glacial pace of 3 miles per hour.
Yeah, it's like my trolling motor.
Whew.
If I've got it on full blast.
Yeah. Tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 70 miles from the middle, from the center. But it's like if you were using your trolling motor to drive a cruise ship, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Just drifting around.
Bertha has been drifting erratically right around that 3 mile an hour mark, but a northwestward motion expected this morning, followed by a west-northwestward or westward motion on the forecast track. Bertha will move near or along the northern Gulf over the next several days. The Mississippi coast is under a tropical storm watch and a storm surge watch The watch covers the coast of Mississippi, but really extends from like Panama City all the way across Mobile, the Mississippi coast, and over to the Jefferson-Plaquemines Parish border. And that's the case for about the next 36 hours, maybe 48 hours. Additional watches and or warnings could go into place today. Former Mississippi Senator John Polk has passed away. That was according to Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann yesterday. Polk passed away at the age of 77. Hosemann wrote on social media, "The Senate and I have lost a close friend, confidant, and outstanding person in former Senator Polk of Hattiesburg. We will always remember him for his unwavering dedication to Mississippi, his strong convictions, and his willingness to say what needed to be said, even when it was difficult." Polk spent 14 years in the Senate and represented areas in Lamar and Pearl River counties. He first took office in 2012 before officially retiring this past January. During the special session last week, senators were informed that Polk had entered or was receiving hospice care. Senator Josh Harkins, a Republican from Flowood, shared the news after John's wife Jan had asked that his former colleagues be informed. Harkins said, "John has been a man of humility, integrity, and quiet strength throughout his service. He's carried himself with dignity, always treating others with respect, regardless of differences in opinion. Senator Polk, we thank you for your faithful service to Mississippi, for your friendship, and for the example you have set. You have earned the respect and admiration of this chamber, and we will always remember you with gratitude and affection. May God bless you and your family." John Polk grew up in Columbia, graduated from Southern Miss in 1974, began working for his family's meat business. In addition to serving as an executive with Polk's Meat Products, he served in several leadership capacities during his time in public service. A couple of resolutions when he announced back in April of 2025 that he was going to be retiring, and said it was the best 14 years of his life. I had the privilege of getting to know Senator Polk half a dozen years ago or so. Those of you who were longtime listeners, or are longtime listeners of Sports Talk Mississippi, remember our Food Fridays. That was the work of Senator John Polk. It started when Hadad and Borky and I were talking organically about food on a Friday. And somewhere along the way we mentioned, hey, this ought to be sponsored. Well, doggone if John Polk didn't reach out and said, hey, let's talk about that. And Food Friday, presented by Polk's, was born. Lance, etched into my memory forever, will be no doubt about it, folks. Picky people pick Polk's.
You can't forget that. And their products are. I'm at McGee. My family's from there.
Yeah,
big Polk's facility there. Grew up eating Polk's, but the Cajun style smoked sausage, hot dog length, and then the red hot links. Yeah. Oh man, they're all good, but you got to have ones that you kind of go back to, remind you of your childhood a little bit.
Yeah,
I love Polk's, absolutely. Great people.
Polk's had not done, at the time, a lot of radio advertising, and it was an investment, and so John would, he was a listener to the show regardless. But in terms of their segment, if he didn't catch it live, he went back and listened and would provide feedback on how it went, what he thought.
That's awesome.
It was cool. It was cool. So to the Polk family, John's daughter is running Polk's now.
Mm-hmm. I'm done. You got me hungry now. I got to go get me a pack of the hot links, man. I love those things.
Our thoughts, our condolences, our prayers to all of you.
Yeah, great people.
This one may take a second. We'll see. I'm gonna hold on to that. Let's grab a couple of sports headlines, and then we'll come back to a lawsuit story. Your morning sports update is brought to you by Pearl River Resort, online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort is home of the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. 2 18-hole championship courses, the Oaks and the Azaleas. You can book your tee time online at dancingrabbitgolf.com. Dancing Rabbit, part of Pearl River Resort. Well, as much as I hate to admit it, the Dirty Water Boston Red Sox playing some baseball right now. Caleb Durbin hit a tie-breaking home run over the Green Monster with 2 outs in the 8th as Boston extended the second longest winning streak in club history to 14 games. Beat Baltimore 6-5 last night. That snapped a 7-game win streak, season best for the O's. With a win tonight, the Red Sox will match a club record. Boston won 15 in a row back in 1946. Some cat named Ted Williams leading the way. First team to win 14 since Milwaukee did it last year. I mean, it hadn't been that long. Good grief. 19-2 in their last 21. That's the best mark in the big leagues during that time. Here's the thing. They were the worst team in the American League. They were 32-46 and won 19 of 21. Run scoring up, ERA down, 9 come from behind victories. Pretty good recipe. 14 in a row and 19 out of 21 is that's playing some ball, Lance.
Oh man, I mean, you're on a heater when you can win 5 or 6 in a row.
Yeah.
You pull 14 in Major League Baseball, and everything's going right. You don't change anything.
Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel has announced that he will step down at the end of this calendar year. The school also released a summary of an independent investigation into the culture of the scandal-plagued athletic department, which concluded that issues there were not widespread. But we're going to fire/accept the resignation of our AD. Ward Manuel is 58. He's led the athletic department in Michigan for over a decade, overseeing multiple national championships, including one in football and men's basketball, but also some run-ins with the NCAA, some legal issues. Oversaw the end of the Jim Harbaugh era and the Sharon Moore issue. Michigan spent over $12 million on an internal investigation by a Chicago law firm, Jenner and Block. Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy has been medically cleared and is expected to make a full recovery from a gunshot wound to the leg, but his timetable for return, according to Missouri coach Eli Drinkwitz, still a little unclear. Remember back in May, on May 10th, Hardy was shot in the upper leg while attending an outdoor concert at a biker club in Laurel. Drinkwitz is on the road to recovery and is fully healed from the bullet that struck his leg. Drinkwitz said that the return-to-play protocol could take 5 to 8 weeks. But there are no guarantees when Hardy will return and how he will play. He says, quote, "Still don't know what his recovery will be. Is he the same Ahmad Hardy that he was last year? My anticipation and what I've seen, the way he's attacked his rehab, he's going to be a better Ahmad Hardy than he was before." Last year, 1,649 yards. Hardy, a native of Brookhaven, grew up in Oma, attended Lawrence County High School in Monticello as a senior, 2,442 yards and 27 touchdowns. In 2 years at the D1 level, first at ULM and then last year at Missouri, he is 89 yards shy of 3,000 and has scored 29 times. That's your sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort.
Good morning from the...
With Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Shouldn't have taken that last bite, Lance.
It looked like a Pop-Tart you were working on.
Humble pie.
Ah,
Well, Bottle Tree humble pie.
good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to give a shout-out before we move forward. Mr. Ken Roberts, he made us a cheesecake. Went by and picked it up Saturday after getting off work. What a gentleman and wonderful guy. Youth pastor and retired, lives over in Brandon. Such a kind man, and he loves making cheesecake. So I've got half of one for you in the freezer. This thing is amazing, folks. Goodness
Man, don't
gracious.
let that thing sit in the freezer.
Well, I told him, I said,
you
look,
eat that cheesecake.
I told him, I said, look, if Richard's not going to be around for a few days, I'm probably going to devour this thing. He goes, man, I'll make him one. I said, okay, good. I'm just making sure.
You eat that cheesecake.
I just wanted you to know that he made us one for, it is, the thing weighed 10 pounds. I mean, It was amazing, dude. I've eaten three or four slices of it and almost had to go take a hibernating nap after one of them. I got so heavy. But such a gentleman. Really appreciate it. Anytime our listeners, reach out and I get to meet you guys. I know Richard's the same way. Such an honor. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. No Powerball winner last night, so Wednesday night's drawing will be $567 million with an estimated cash value of $250 million. This sounds big when you say it that way. $251.8 million, the estimated cash value. But guess what? Tonight is your night. $707 million in the Mega Millions jackpot. An estimated cash value of $307,700,000. And I love how the decimal and the number after it is just kind of like an afterthought. And then you think about that sitting on its own. You're like, well, 700,000 all by itself wouldn't be so bad.
No, I could use that.
But then if you've got 9 figures in front of it, hello. Don't forget to get your tickets today. The Mega Millions ticket, just in case you hadn't bought one in a while. A reminder, they are $5. Used to be less than that, but the price went to $5, but you've got all of the upgrades included. You get the Mega Ball. There's no question as to whether or not do I, don't I, and the jackpot grows faster. So you got a combined over $1 billion in jackpots with Powerball and Mega Millions.
Well, and we had 2 on-air winners yesterday on their reuse the ticket. You won $4, and we had one of our listeners won $8.
That's right.
That's right. That's how we roll around here. Nothing but winners.
Got my winning ticket right there.
Win, baby.
South Haven woman won $310,000 on a match 5 scratch off from Murphy Oil in Horn Lake. There you go. That's your Mississippi Lottery update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery online at mslottery.com. Be sure to download the Mississippi Lottery app. It is free. Coming up this morning, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on right here in Mississippi, and there is a lot going on around the globe. And we will try to dive into some of it. C Spire text line: would you cease working at C Spire if you won the lottery?
I mean, if you're talking about $707 million, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I may show up for, having fun. Wouldn't be doing it for the money, though. It's doing it for the love of the game.
Yeah. I would not leave immediately. I cannot make any long-term promises, but I wouldn't be like, I'm out. Good luck, guys.
Oh, no. You want a soft landing.
Well, for everybody, I just don't want to leave a burden on everybody else.
No, that's what I'm saying. You don't want to shift that on to everyone else.
Yeah, Richard, are you a fan of Obies? Sure.
I love their muffaletta.
You know what my favorite thing at Obies is? You ever get a chill? Not like you're sick, but like you just got cold and you can't shake the fact that you're cold. Mm-hmm. There is a cure-all for that. And it is the crawfish etouffee from Obies. And sometimes, fall, winter, I'm cold. What do I want? Ooh, I want crawfish etouffee. Get that and their bread. Probably got more butter on it than
the bread
I need.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I always love it.
Tell you one other thing. The club salad at Obie's, where you substitute chicken for catfish, is outstanding.
So you're putting catfish instead of chicken. Is that what you're doing?
Yes. Yeah. Replace. Yeah.
I can crush.
I guess the original Obie's was in Starkville, but the one in Oxford, David and Ayers
Man, I love that.
It's been a long time now, but good grief, they've done a great job with that.
Yeah, I've probably eaten there 400 times, the Oxford one. I love that place.
Yeah, so lawsuit that had been dismissed being heard by the Fifth Circuit Court. Got that coming up. A reward offered for something that might or might not have been a crime. And kind of a gratuitous presentation or announcement of said award. That's next. MRC with you.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Let's go. Waking up the Magnolia State. Mornings with Richard Cross. That's what it's here for. Super Talk, Mississippi.
I am the sun and the air.
Good morning and welcome in once again. 7 o'clock hour mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi on this 21st of July. Appreciate you being with us. Mornings is brought to you by Community Bank. Ever notice how some places still know your name? At Community Bank, that's how banking works. We're a bank that knows community because we live here. And when you walk in, you're more than an account number. No matter what your banking needs are, here you will talk to real people who care about your goals. Community Bank, a local bank built on relationships. Stop by your neighborhood location or learn more at communitybank.net, rooted in our community. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. We are thrilled to be with you this morning. Thrilled, I say. 7 o'clock hour every day is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is and can be difficult. You got all those IRS rules and withhold this and move that and defer this. Payroll's tough. Benefits, who gets what. You got to keep up with all of that for all the employees. It's complicated. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. MWG Employer Services can help. It's what they do. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. That sounds interesting to you. Give them a call. Learn more, 601-206-7966 or online at mwgemployerservices.com. Nolan Wells' funeral was yesterday. I think it was a funeral. I think it was a memorial service. But I felt like I needed a shower after reading the story of what was said and by whom. It was announced during Nolan Wells' service yesterday by none other than the Reverend Al Sharpton that a $100,000 reward was in place for news leading to an arrest and conviction in the case of what happened. And Sharpton thought he was being cute, thought he was being coy in the way that he couched his words. This was said from the podium into a microphone at the memorial service for an 18-year-old who tragically lost his life on the 4th of July. I want to offer a reward of $50,000 to anybody who could give the information that would lead to an arrest and conviction in the case of what happened. He was not on that island by himself. Somebody saw something and knows something. I didn't come to make money. I came to give money. Stand up and tell the truth. And then he announced later that an additional $50,000 gift, a matching gift, if you will, was being put up in the case as well, bringing the total to $100,000. Sharpton said the money would come from the National Action Network that he founded, and added later in the service that prominent filmmaker Tyler Perry is offering a matching $50,000 reward for the same information. Here's some of also what Al Sharpton said. We want answers, not biased either way, just answers. I think that for the family, the closure can come if there is justice. Some have prejudged this case. I do not think it is appropriate for either side of opinions to prevail without a fair investigation. We cannot say it was racist, but we cannot say it was not racist. So let's not judge until all the evidence is in. Well, there's a novel idea. He went on to compare the death of Nolan Wells to the biblical story of Cain and Abel. Sharpton said in the Bible, Cain is said to have killed his brother Abel out of jealousy. Cain further denied having any knowledge of where Abel was after killing him and posed the question, am I my brother's keeper? To God. It was later revealed in the story that God could hear the blood of Abel crying from the ground, which Sharpton used as a parallel to the case of Nolan Wells. He says, if Wells was subjected to foul play and bad actors or withholding information, those responsible for keeping the truth from coming to light will be haunted by his death. But then, softened a touch, and called on law enforcement to thoroughly investigate the matter and to provide a full and transparent report of what happened, leaving no reason of doubt in its assessment. And then he increased the rhetoric by saying, I hear this morning Nolan's blood crying from the ground. Am I my brother's keeper? Or am I the keeper of some secret? Some information that you could give but won't stand up. But the blood's going to haunt you. Those in law enforcement, your job is to follow your oath, not to follow the preference of what went down. And then Al Sharpton couldn't help himself. Couldn't help himself when he said, I look back at the history, and I noticed that Emmett Till happened here. Medgar Evers happened here. Based on the history, we've got to be able to dig deep. We cannot have people in law enforcement say there was no foul play before an investigation concludes. I missed the part where law enforcement said that no foul play was the case before the investigation concluded. The closest thing we have to that is the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, Sean Tyndall, saying, at this time, we see no evidence of foul play. Paraphrasing, he said that on our show about a week and a half ago. Ben Crump and Al Sharpton, side by side, with cameras rolling, next to Nolan Wells' parents. gratuitous feels like far too soft a word. Why was yesterday not a celebration of the life of this young man, Nolan Wells? Why is there this? I mean, when you couch it as, I'm not saying it's racist, but I'm not saying it's not racist. If this legal team surrounding the Wells family had any information to point to the fact that what happened was anything more than an accident, they would have put that information out. And this whole no official results of the autopsy of the medical examiner's report, come on. You're not buying that, are you? You're not buying that. As I've said from the very beginning on this, if anything nefarious happened, law enforcement has a duty to not only find the answers, but to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. And I maintain that. But vilifying law enforcement from the outset of the investigation and using coded language to cry racism and to cry foul play, as opposed to allowing the investigation and then invoking Emmett Till and Medgar Evers, my gracious. The effort to divide is so clear. What a disgusting display by Al Sharpton and Ben Crump once again. God bless the Wells family, though.
Good morning from the Venable.
What is it? What's going on?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
It is what it is.
Yes, it is. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Yesterday, SEC Media Days began for the first time in Tampa, Florida, the unofficial kickoff to the college football season, and we are there. SuperTalk Mississippi has you covered from SEC Football Media Days, the biggest event of the offseason. Coverage brought to you in part by Pearl River Resort, Cannon Motors, Mississippi Farm Bureau, and Trustmark Bank. And up bright and early, though he is in the Eastern time zone, but still bright and early, Brian Hadad joins us from Tampa this morning. Good morning, my friend.
How are you? How are you, my friend? Good to see you.
It is nice to see you as well. Yesterday, things got started. One of the interesting stories, and a story that has a tie to the state of Mississippi, is that of Ahmad Hardy, one of the best running backs in all of college football, who had an incredible season a year ago. The former Lawrence County star was shot in the leg back in May, and Eli Drinkwitz, the Missouri coach, had a bit of an update. What did you learn yesterday about Ahmad Hardy and his recovery?
I'm trying to remember exactly how Drinkwitz phrased it. He said he's cleared for rehabilitation is how I think he put it. So it's not cleared to play. If the season started tomorrow, he couldn't play. But he is clear to go about his rehab and go about whatever he needs to do to get ready to play. So, from a local perspective, Mississippi State sees Missouri in week 4. I don't know. I think that's up in the air if Ahmad Hardy will be a part of that. It's interesting that Missouri brought another running back. They brought their second-string running back, Jamal Roberts, who they are very high on. But that maybe tells you something about what they're expecting for the season for Ahmad Hardy.
His numbers are staggering. When you look at what he did as a freshman at ULM and then last year at Missouri, he is 89 yards short going into his junior year of 3,000 career rushing yards and has made it to the end zone 29 times. It's really special stuff.
Well, I mean, Eli Drinkwitz knows running backs because he got Ahmad Hardy to come to Missouri, and he had Kejuan Lacey at Missouri, and so he could have had an unbelievable attack there. But yeah, he's really, really good, and hopefully, for college football's sake, he'll be healthy and good to go because he is an outstanding college football player. We want to see him up there. We're gonna swerve here for a second here. I want to tell you something.
Oh, tell it.
You're missed. People
Well,
are coming up. They have been asking me, "Where's Richard? Why isn't Richard here?" And then when I tell them what you're doing, they're like, "He did what? He wants to talk about what?" Your friend Catherine is sitting right next to me right now, commissioner of the SEC. Lean in here. Dad, she gave you a wave there. I got the commissioner of the SEC over here. We'll talk to him later today. But everybody is like, "Where's Richard?" So I want to let you know that.
I appreciate that very much. I think it was 15 years in a row. I was trying to think. Obviously, 2020 didn't happen, but going back to at least 2008, had been there or 2010. I don't know. Yeah. I miss it though. Hey, you guys did a great job yesterday. The content, by the way, if you've missed any of it, you can catch clips of different interviews on the SportsTalk Mississippi X feed. It's at SportsTalk MISS. And you can go back and listen to the full interviews at supertalk.fm and through the podcast.
And, of course, on our TikTok feed, Instagram feeds, we got it all there. We actually got a head coach to sit down with us yesterday. We got Will Stein to sit down. I thought that just out of nowhere, Richard, like he's standing right here at the table next to us, our friend Dan Matthews. And his SID is there. I was like, is he all booked up or could he slide over? And she just looked at me and she goes, no, he could slide over. He can do some time with you. I was like, great.
Yeah,
so,
no, it was
a fun interview.
Good. Interesting conversation. I heard a rumor that some of the content of Greg Sankey's address to the media yesterday was not necessarily what gets you all warm and tingly on side and, really makes your clock tick. But there is this undercurrent in college football of all that is changing. Mm-hmm. Your stance through the years has been just get us to the games.
Yeah.
And to a large degree, I agree with you on that. Is there anything that Greg Sankey said yesterday that really stood out for you?
I think the I don't know if disapproval or disgruntledness, if that's a word, with the current status. And when we talked to Rich Clark yesterday, the executive director of the College Football Playoff Committee, I basically asked him, I was like, look, man, we're 2 years into this project. The games are great. I feel like the best teams are winning. We're getting what we wanted out of this. Why are we so fast to change? Why are we so in such a hurry to change what appears to be working in the right direction? And we all know the real answer to that is money. But, even Sankey said in his address that they were not happy with some of the conversations they had with the playoff committee. And basically, from what I can gather from talking to Rich, was they presented him with a bunch of math, and they were like, these are the numbers. And they were like, we don't like these numbers. And you know how that goes. You covering politics, they make the numbers say whatever you want nowadays. So my thought process is we're in for another year with 12. Next year, there probably is going to be a change. Will it be 16? Will it be 24? You've got Eli Drinkwitz getting up there and talking about the 9 games and how the coaches don't want that, and they feel like they were told one thing and something else happened. So, I don't know if shaky is the right word, but right now there seems to be some undercurrent of disapproval among a lot of things happening in the SEC.
So going to a 9-game conference schedule in what most consider to be the most difficult league, the Southeastern Conference in all of college football, but without a guarantee that the committee is going to look at a 9-game SEC schedule and kind of give the league teams credit for doing that, right?
Correct. And Borky talks about it all the time. He's like, when you change from a 8-game to a 9-game, you gave yourself as a conference 8 more losses, right? Because you replaced games against Conference USA teams and Sun Belt teams. No offense to any USM fans that are listening, but You replace those games with another SEC game. And, for a team like Mississippi State, they replaced a game with Troy with, a game against Alabama? They have 5 home games this year in the conference. They would normally have 4. So pick one of their 4 home games, and that's who they're playing instead of a Sun Belt team, a Conference USA team, a MAC team, whatever. That's going to make it difficult. Not everybody – I think people forget about that. And this is why I don't think the Super League will ever happen, Richard, because in a Super League, somebody is going to go 3-9. Well, in the Super League, is that Georgia? Is that Texas? Who went 3-9 when you're playing all the top teams? So that's why I don't think it'll ever occur. So yes, to answer your question, I think that is a big hot button issue that the SEC. I think they swung and missed. If we're being honest,
you have teams that you follow, and your general disposition has been, I care about my team. I don't really care about the rest of Major League Baseball. You love the San Francisco Giants. Right. You follow the Lakers. You're not necessarily locked in on the entire NBA.
Correct.
But your stance with college football has been different than that. That's love correct. College football beyond just loving Mississippi State. So as a consumer of college football, not as a fan of Mississippi State, I would think that you would love the idea of 9 SEC games. How do you balance those two?
So you're correct. As a fan of Mississippi State, I don't like it at all because it took a win off a team that desperately needs wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're correct in that I got 9 better games, right? I got better college football to watch. I'm absolutely in favor of that. It's the same thing with the playoff. I'm a huge hypocrite. I don't really want a 24-team playoff, but am I going to be locked into every single game? And talking to Rich Clark yesterday, he says, hey, if we add another round, it will be on campus. So now I've got another round of on-campus playoff games. I live for that, man. I'll be locked into every snap. So,
all right, so when is the interview with Rich Clark coming?
It was yesterday.
Okay, so it was live on the show. Okay,
it was live on the show. You can go back and find it on all of our SuperTalk social media channels.
I feel like what you just said is something that has been assumed, but it has not been widely reported or has been official. Rich Clark saying that a second round of on-campus games would occur with the playoff expansion?
The way Borky phrased the question was, is there a thirst for that? And Rich Clark said there is an insatiable thirst for another round of on-campus games. So if I believe if they go to 24 or if they go to 16 and they have to do an extra round, there will be on-campus games and more on-campus games, which is the best college football can be, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Could not agree with you more on that front. What's on tap for today?
We've got a lot of interviews lined up for today. A lot of our friends, Cole Kubelik's going to join us. J.D. Piquel's going to join us. The commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey, will join us later today. It's a full day. We're going to be rocking and rolling all day long. So check us out, Sports Talk Mississippi, starting at 3 Central, 4 Eastern.
Ole Miss will be tomorrow.
Mississippi State on Thursday. Okay. Along with this Kiffin guy I keep hearing about. He'll be on Thursday, too.
He, even though he's not there,
your twin brother
has grabbed a bunch of storylines. Thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate you getting up and being with us.
Anytime, buddy.
Brian Hadad, co-host of Sports Talk Mississippi and the host of the Thunder and Lightning podcast and Thunder and Lightning live on the radio that you can hear on Wednesday nights. From 6 until 7, Sports Talk Mississippi from SEC Media Days presented by Pearl River Resort, Cannon Motors, Mississippi Farm Bureau, and Trustmark Bank.
From theSeabrook.com.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Wake up.
Get going. Come on.
All right.
Super Talk Mississippi. Wake up.
Welcome again. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. You can text the show on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. The one plan from C Spire is here. Fiber home internet and wireless. Just $99 a month for new and current C Spire customers. One plan, One price, one experience, zero compromises. And you can save money. In fact, a lot of it. 3 lines with C Spire. Save $700 a year compared to AT&T. Plus, you're going to pay the same price for 5 years with 5-year price lock. One rate with no surprises guaranteed. So don't wait. Get the one plan today. Visit your local C Spire store or shop online now at cspire.com/oneplan. C Spire, customer inspired. We talked yesterday some about the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, who describe themselves not as a party but as a movement, a grassroots organization, idealists. It is making some staunch, long-term Democrats uncomfortable. Van Jones was on Fox on Saturday, and he had this to say.
I am tired of a set of people on the very far left in the Democratic Party. Ideas that are literally insane, nutty, moronic, dangerous, bigoted, are not progressive. They're regressive, and they should not be in our party.
That's somebody that's in the Democrat Party. That's not me. I mean, I've used words like that, insane, nutty, crazy. He said not progressive, but regressive, and he wants them out. But is there anything that more mainstream Democrats can do to slow this ever-growing tide of far left, socialist-loving, kind of New Age Democrats? I don't know the answer to that. But it's something that is going to be very fascinating to watch. Somebody said he will be primaried. I don't think you can primary a TV host. I mean, I guess you could. I don't know exactly how that works. I think that would be the bosses. That's Van Jones, a commentator on CNN, not an existing candidate. That's in response to a message on the C Spire text line that says he will be primaried. An update to a story that seemingly was dead, but is no longer. A former University of Mississippi employee is now arguing in a federal appeal that a judge's dismissal of her lawsuit against the chancellor at Ole Miss, Glenn Boyce, would allow a government employer to punish a worker for protected political speech because of backlash from outside critics. At its core, this is a First Amendment test that is before the courts. Lauren Stokes, the former Ole Miss employee, is asking the appeals court to reverse the dismissal of her lawsuit and allow it to proceed. There was a brief that was filed last week in the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and it contends that firing a public employee over protected political speech violates the First Amendment. Her appeal also contends that if the ruling dismissing her lawsuit stands, then it would have both important and risky implications for free speech going forward. In the appeal, it says, if the district judge is correct, a government employer may terminate an employee for no better reason than external hecklers disagree with her political point of view. No other facts matter. The First Amendment itself has nothing at all to say about it. Stokes was employed as an executive assistant in the university's development office. She was fired last September after sharing on her private Instagram account commentary about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the CEO of Turning Point USA. Stokes sued Boyce in federal court, claiming a violation of First Amendment rights. Then in March, U.S. District Judge Glenn Davidson ruled in favor of the chancellor's motion to dismiss the lawsuit. The judge determined that Stokes failed to provide the chancellor violated her constitutional rights. Davidson also ruled that Boyce, in his role as chancellor, is entitled to qualified immunity, which protects him from liability stemming from doing his job as the leader of the university. Stokes' attorney is Allison Mills. Asked for comment, she said the brief speaks for itself. A spokesperson for Ole Miss said the university will not comment and does not comment on pending litigation. And Cal Mayo, the attorney for Glenn Boyce, could not be reached for comment, at least not immediately. Do you remember the shared post on Instagram? This was it. For decades, white, spelled Y-T, supremacist and reimagined Klan members like Kirk have wreaked havoc on our communities, condemning children and the populace at large to mass death for the sake of keeping their automatic guns. They have willingly advocated to condemn children and adult survivors of sexual assault to forced pregnancy and childbirth. They have smiled while stating the reasons people who can birth children shouldn't be allowed life-saving medical care when miscarrying. They have incited and clapped for the brutalizing of black and brown bodies. So no, I have no prayers to offer Kirk or respectable statements against violence. That was the original post on Instagram that in the immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination was shared by Stokes on her Instagram account. In an email that Lauren Stokes sent to Mississippi Today, she said, "I did nothing wrong. I didn't deserve to be fired." So as I said a second ago, at question here is a free speech question, a First Amendment right question. You remember that the First Amendment guarantees 5 fundamental freedoms: freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, and petition. Primarily in place to protect citizens from government censorship or retaliation. Specifically, with regard to speech, the First Amendment protects spoken, written, and symbolic speech, including art, clothing, and online posts. That's according to the ACLU of the District of Columbia. It applies even to offensive or highly controversial views. The thing that I've always said with regard to our First Amendment protections, you absolutely have freedom of speech. Lauren Stokes, in this case, was not punished by a government authority. She was not placed in jail. She was not executed, as is the case in some countries where you speak out with negative views against the government or other entities. So she absolutely has freedom of speech. What the First Amendment does not guarantee is freedom from consequence. And so in her role as executive director at the university's foundation, which is the fundraising arm at the University of Mississippi, if your speech adversely affects your ability to do your job or your employer's ability to function, then there can and arguably should be consequences for said speech. You don't go to jail for what you said, but you don't necessarily get to keep your job. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good morning from the Venable Glass.
In the car, at home, or at work, it's always free to listen to Super Talk Mississippi and Mornings with Richard Cross.
Pleasure being with you on this Tuesday morning, the 21st of July. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Brice Wiggins will join us to begin the 8 o'clock hour this morning, so about 10 minutes from right now. Look forward to our conversation with the senator. Let's go to the C Spire text line. 601-879-4395. A lot of reaction from you to a story that we talked about before the break, and that is the appeal to reopen or reverse the dismissal of the case that former University of Mississippi employee Lauren Stokes filed against the university's chancellor. The district court opinion was bulletproof. Qualified immunity is very difficult to overturn once it has been granted. From Mose. Richard, nobody made Stokes remove the post, so her First Amendment free speech rights were not violated. We are an at-will employment state. She has no right to a job with an employer that disagrees with her public statements. I think it goes a step farther than that, Mose, in terms of when your public statements, while exercising your free speech rights, harm your employer in a at-will work state, then you have kind of a mitigating or a complicating factor.
I worked for the university for a while, and I'll say this. That was the policy of the university. You don't do anything or say anything that puts the university in a bad light. I worked for the foundation. I worked for the alumni. I worked for the School of Pharmacy. And, I mean, I didn't have the freedom just to go out and go against what my employer, the mission of the university, the employer I worked for said. I mean, that was... Herb DeWeese was real clear about those things. You do this way, and we don't do things in a way that's going to make Ole Miss look bad in any way. And so, from my experience, it was very open and honest. Your job was to promote Ole Miss, not yourself.
And Lance, I do think there is an important distinction here in that she was a staff member at the university, not a faculty member.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think there is a distinction there. And certainly not a tenured faculty member.
Mm-hmm.
CC in Senatobia. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times, CC, and I agree completely with you. Freedom of speech does not equal freedom from consequence. It just doesn't. There are limitations on free speech, Marshall points out, including, you can't yell fire in a crowded auditorium. Ole Miss has hired more and more wokesters, as has USM and State. That needs to be dealt with. I don't like the idea of hiring or discrimination in hiring based on political beliefs. I don't like that. I think a university, at its best, is a place where you can have the free flow of ideas despite differing opinions. What you cannot have and should not have, and what has been addressed at a number of universities, has been cramming a specific ideology or indoctrination down the throats of the collective student body. Another message that said, Mississippi is an at-will state. She is an employee. She got terminated, period. Doesn't matter the cause. The liberals are bold but cry when there are consequences. Good for Ole Miss, and I'm a state fan. That's from Brandon. Just like the Constitution does not gives you the right to offend anyone, but it doesn't give anyone the right to not be offended.
I mean, again, I don't see where her position, in what she wrote on Instagram and shared has anything to do with the University of Mississippi. I mean, that was her personal opinion, and if the university or her employer did not care much for the way she went about that, I think that it's fair game to fire somebody. And I think you should have the right to do that. I don't care if you're staff or faculty. If you go back and read the post, it's completely heartless for what was going on at the moment. And I just find that to be very classless. And I don't think I would want to have somebody that spouted off all their emotional baggage after the death of somebody, period.
Yeah.
On behalf of the university you work for.
George in Greenwood says, yep, Stokes' post was speech, but what she wrote about Mr. Kirk was false and defamatory. It was libel. It went beyond commentary. That's from George in Greenwood.
Precisely.
The person who wrote about wokesters being hired just a moment ago said, so you're fine with faculty members pushing trans, etc. crap. That is what is happening, and it's getting worse. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. If that's what you heard, then that's what you wanted to hear. Because I didn't get in line with exactly the way you texted something, that means I'm okay. Come on. Be smarter than that.
Stay social during the show at SuperTalk Mississippi on Facebook. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. When it comes to money, trust isn't automatic, it's earned. That's why Community Bank does things the old-fashioned way. When you come to us, we take the time to listen to you and discuss any questions you have. Whether you're saving, spending, or planning ahead, you'll find bankers who know the community because they're part of it. Community Bank, banking designed with you in mind. Visit us in person or online at communitybank.net. Glad to be with you on this Tuesday morning, July 21st. And as we roll into this 8 o'clock hour, glad to be joined by Mississippi Senator Brice Wiggins. He represents District 52. That is Jackson County. He is chair of Senate Judiciary A and kind enough to spend some time with us this morning. Senator, good morning to you.
Hey, Richard. Good morning. Glad to be with y'all. And if I can, before we get started, I'd like to say a word and a shout out to the passing of Senator John Polk. We came into the Senate together, and he was a friend. He knew what he stood for. We had I guess it was at this point 13 years together. We went through a lot together. And his family, my prayers are with his family, and he meant a lot to those of us in the Senate. But he meant a lot because he was a bulwark in the Senate. He knew where he stood, and he even said it. He maybe didn't vote the way people wanted him to, but he lived a life. He was a great businessman. And so he knew where he was. And so I just wanted to say that his family's in our prayers.
You're stealing off of my note sheet. That was the first thing I was going to ask you about. Just some thoughts that you might have. It was announced yesterday by the Lieutenant Governor that Senator Polk had passed away. He had announced his retirement from the Senate a year ago and was part of the whole redrawing of districts, but I think was probably about ready to step away. I had the privilege of knowing Senator Polk as well, and was able to work with him some. What a unique individual, and I love how you said just grounded in who he was and what he believed, and wasn't going to waver on that, but also was very kind.
He was, but he could be curmudgeonly, but I say that with respect. and mind you, I came in at the same time as he did, and our offices were across there. But he knew that. But he also, judiciary aide, lawyer. I can't say that he had much patience for us lawyers, but he knew he couldn't live without us, and that includes Commissioner Tyndall when he was in the Senate, and Delbert Hoseman, who's a lawyer. So, but he knew where he was. And to your point, I think this last session, he was ready. But he had served he had served the state of Mississippi. And I hope people understand that he didn't have to run for office. He built Polk's Meats.
Yeah.
He was a businessman. He was proud of where he came from. And he chose to run for the Senate and give back to his state. And, that was something. And so we appreciate him. We're a better state and a better Senate with him being here. And look, you're getting me all emotional, Richard. I didn't want to do that, but he's a good person, a great person.
Yeah. And our condolences go out to all of the Polk family in his passing. Let's rewind to last week.
I'll finish with this. We need more people like him and more people with his values. We do.
Well said. Well said. If we could rewind to the special session last week, I think there are a lot of people, self-included, that thought last Wednesday was almost going to be a rubber stamp. That leadership in the House and the Senate had come together, that they had put together a youth court bill that both sides were pretty confident they were going to be able to get through and get to the governor's desk, and it was almost going to be a formality. And reading about some of the debate and some of the other things that got thrown in, it turned out to be anything but a formality or just a rubber stamp. Can you walk us through it?
Well, sure. So if you watch the debate, I stated some of these things on the Senate floor. And contrary to much of the debate, mainly by Democrats, we've been working on this issue for at least 3 years, if not 5 years. And it is known in the Senate and the House that for no less than 15 years, there has been a recommendation for a uniform youth court system statewide. Then the bill that, as I said on the Senate floor, it was 65 to 70% of the conference report that ended at the end of the legislative session this session. Okay, so for people to say that they didn't know about it, that's just fallacy. I mean, that's just fallacy, because to get to a conference report in regular session, it has to go through the House, the Senate committee, the Senate floor, the House committee, the House floor, then you go back. That's fallacy. I've been standing up there. So, and then when you heard some of that debate, it was, we agree with things. We know we need to do this. You just haven't given us time. And then on that, when we, and yes, I will say this, the call, which is the governor's call, he added the funding mechanism.
Right.
And let me say that funding had been requested by DHS repeatedly during the budget sessions. And then the truancy, which Lieutenant Governor Hoseman has been on the stump for 2 years.
He has been.
What you saw was a combination of a lot of policies that had been discussed over the last really number of years.
Let me interject just for a second. Absent the funding mechanism being part of that bill, would we have been stuck in limbo for a year until next year's session so that money could have been appropriated to put this new youth court bill into place?
No, because that was the policy, and I'll remind the listeners that this all ended up. We ended the session, and there was we didn't get the bill, and there's a thing called the repealers. Well, that led to a whole bunch of lawsuits come July 1st. So we had to address that. Honestly, I mean, we were willing to go back in January and address it, but things got where they got, and the governor, which CPS, DHS, or an executive branch agency, things kind of happened, and he felt like that needed to be addressed. So we could have and would have addressed that in the special session without the funding. However, it was a better bill because we had the funding, and like DHS and CPS had requested that, and that funding went to a number of things. It went to the facilities to house the juveniles, which has been on the topic for a number of years now. It also went to the diversion programs that have been asked for. So what you saw was a coming together of all of this. So I go back to the debate. We didn't know about it. That is just talking points that get put out there, in my opinion. And if nothing else, people know my position that we've been working on this in the Judiciary A Committee for a number of years now.
What is the significance in your mind of placing actual judges within the youth court system, even though they may have big areas that they oversee? They may have to go from county to county, courtroom to courtroom, but you will have judges in these youth courts as opposed to referees, which are usually local attorneys that take on the role of kind of running the court as if they were a judge. How significant is that?
First of all, Richard, I'm impressed by your research, and we may make you an attorney at some point.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a good plan.
It's very significant for two reasons. One, going back to my earlier comment, myself and Representative Chairwoman Cockerham about 3 years ago commissioned a youth court task force. The number one thing that came out of the task force was our referee system was not working. It needed to go. And judges and everybody said that needed to go. Second, I will say, I think Governor Reeves said it very well. He said, we had part-time people doing full-time issues. And he said, with these judges, we will have every child, generally speaking, will have a full-time judge addressing that. And the Mississippi Constitution grants chancellors, that's a constitutional position, the authority to oversee youth matters. And so those children who've been honestly in some way systemically neglected, and I could go down the list about how that's been the case, they will have that attention, and we will move people through the system faster.
We're going to continue our conversation with Senator Brice Wiggins, but first we need to take a time out. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
News, interviews, weather, sports, all right here, all morning long. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Senator Brice Wiggins is my guest. He is an attorney by profession, in addition to being a state senator. I'm curious, what's your favorite lawyer joke?
Yeah, when we go into law school, we have a class called Lawyer Jokes 101 that we have to learn, and and the one they teach us is. What do you call 5 lawyers at the bottom of the sea?
A good start.
A good start. So
hey, there you go. That's a classic. That's the one that I would have gone to as well. Hey, we get a question on the C-Spire text.
Everybody wants it. But when they need one, they want one.
Yeah.
So,
amen and amen. Question that comes in here. When you say judges, is this going to be someone with a law/legal background, or is it going to be more like justice court judges that can come from any profession on one day and be a judge the next?
that's a good question. It's actually chancellors, and by law, and I think by the Constitution, you have to be a lawyer to be a chancellor. And that's what is that's what's significant about this. And this is no criticism on anybody like the referees, but those are tended to be lawyers who have multiple things going on, who do that, and they serve in that capacity. Judges are full-time, dedicated to that, and that's what the governor was saying. And most people don't realize this, Richard. Understand this, that back actually, I think in the 70s, district attorneys used to be part-time. And it was in the 70s that district attorneys, it was the same thing as referees, and the state made district attorneys a full-time position because of we needed that dedication. And they said, if you're going to be district attorney, you cannot operate a law practice. So if you're going to become a chancery judge that's handling a youth court chancellor, as we've called them, you cannot handle a practice. Your job is to be dedicated to those kids. And, you know, that's similar to what happened back in the 70s because prosecutors, district attorneys were part-time at that time. And now they're full-time, and we have, I think it's 22 across the state.
Senator Brice Wiggins is my guest. So there was another piece to the special session that arose in the House. The Senate passed the youth court bill in Senate chambers on Wednesday night. I think it's late-ish on Wednesday night. Thursday ended up happening, PM. And on the House side, the PBM conversation came back up, and there was some discussion about trying to get to some resolution on pharmacy benefit managers, almost as a way to kind of push this through, because, at least as I understand it, it's not something that the governor has really pushed the legislature to get through. There's been a lot of talk about pharmacy benefit managers over the last couple of years. How did this get rolled into the conversation about youth courts? Was it just an advantageous time?
So let me say this. What I'm about to say is I put the pieces together. I'm using my best guess. When the governor's office called and said, hey, we're going to call a special session on this issue, I, of course, began working on that with my colleagues in the House. At no time did I have a conversation about PBM. I will say back in the regular session or the session before, I was a conferee on the PBM conference report. It ended up dying in the House on the last day. Okay, so I'm familiar with PBMs, the PBM legislation in that sense. So I had no conversation. And then you're correct, when the House, we had the appropriation bill, the Senate passed the regular bill, the House handled the appropriation bill, and it paused. That's when you found out PBM was being discussed. I will say this. I think what was going on was the independent pharmacists and the business community were trying to reach a deal, and I think the governor and maybe the speaker, and it sounded like the lieutenant governor, were willing to see if they came together. But that's been the problem, is there's no agreement between those two big groups. And I think that, you know, as I think it was the Speaker White said, you know, you got everybody here, so you might as well take a shot. I didn't really have a problem with that. But if they had let it go on much longer, I'm telling you, you would have had a revolt because people got called back and everything like that. And so, you know, I don't really blame them because it's an issue that we've been working on for probably 3 to 4 years now, and you had everybody there. So that's how I think it came to be based on what I could tell.
Senator, I had a guest on a while back that was representative of the independent pharmacists in the state. And I candidly said to them, I think I know what your problem is, at least in part. You can't explain exactly what it is that you want or what it is that you need. Like, I have read and had conversations about PBM reform and trying to understand all the different sides and why the business community. Why is it that the independent pharmacist can't clearly articulate their position on what is a very complicated issue? And I don't know if you can succinctly explain what issue the big business community has with what independent pharmacists are actually asking for.
Okay, here's how I'll answer that question. And I will say this, that I think certainly members of the Senate know my position where I've been on this, me along with certainly Senator England from Jackson County. The answer to your question is because what the independent pharmacists say in their messaging is actually different from what they really want. What they really want is a protectionist bill. They want their industry and the independent to be protected by the government. If you are a Republican and if you are a business conservative Republican, then you want the minimalist amount of government interference in your jobs. And that's it in a nutshell. And the pharmacists have not been honest and said, we want a protectionist bill. And that is a debate that we've had in the Senate. Are you a protectionist? Or are you about business? And that's where I've been, and I'm about business. And I think I just saw some stats. Mississippi is the 13th best state for business. Why are we doing protectionist policies? We don't have the lawyers coming to the legislature saying, pass a piece of legislation to protect my business and keep me out of the competitive market. I understand about reform and transparency. I'm all about that. And we do need to look at the PBM stuff. But in answer to your question, it's the messaging that they send out to people is different from what they really want. And I know from trying cases in the courtroom, both as a prosecutor and currently in different capacities, the message, when you have that and the message is unclear and people aren't getting it, that means you're not telling the truth, or what you're saying is not what you really are there advocating for.
Breaking news this morning, some Republicans still want less government.
And breaking news. And yes, we want that. I want that. I've said that from day one. And you ask about the business community. That is where they are. And it's no secret because I've said that. My district includes Ingalls Shipbuilding. You know what they do? They employ 15,000 people in the state, largest private employer. And if it was what the independent pharmacists want, we would be affecting them. There was one point when we had a debate that the representative for the independent pharmacists looked at the Senate committee and actually said, no, I don't think Ingalls Shipbuilding, a Fortune 500 company, has lawyers that know how to do contracts. Are you kidding me? They know how to do contracts. And this is the point I've been making, is less government. If we are Republicans and we say we are Republicans, then we are about less government. I'm not sitting here saying no government because we've got to regulate. That's our job. But we want less government. And we certainly don't need protectionist policies that interfere in competition.
So do I hear you saying ultimately that transparency, clarity, and regulation are what is needed in this conversation about PBMs, but government protectionist intervention is not what is needed?
I think that's a very good way to summarize it, yes. And the negotiations and bills that I've been involved in, the business community has been about transparency. The ones I've been talking about, the Mississippi Business Alliance, they're all about that. It's the independent pharmacists who have wanted that protectionist piece, but to the point where it is untenable, even as Republicans. And I hear the music. I want to say back to the special session, I really appreciate the governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker taking on this issue. This is so important for the children, and I'm proud of the Republican Party because this was not an easy issue, and it was not an issue that honestly gets the the campaign checks flowing. It was something that we had to do as being in charge of government.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it.
Senator Brice Wiggins.
From the Seabrook.com.
As the sun rises, he has all the news you need. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, SuperTalk.fm, and the SuperTalk app.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for being with us. About 21, 22 minutes left with you this morning. Don't forget, SEC Media Days is going on in Tampa, Florida. Today is day 2, and Sports Talk Mississippi is there through Thursday. Ole Miss will be there tomorrow, Mississippi State on Thursday. It's the biggest event of the offseason. It's SEC Media Days, and we've got full coverage for you right here at SuperTalk Mississippi. Caleb from the news team is there. Brian Hadad, Michael Borky from Sports Talk Mississippi are there. They'll be live today from 3 to 6. Our coverage is brought to you in part by Pearl River Resort, Cannon Motors, Mississippi Farm Bureau, and Trustmark Bank. I'm flipping a coin in my head, Lance.
A commemorative coin.
That you can own for just one $3 bill. Send us a $3 bill, and we'll send you
a quarter.
Yeah. All right, let's hit Iran just for a second. Things are getting complicated in the Middle East. They've been complicated, but it's been Iran in conflict with the U.S. and Israel going back to February. And then we had the negotiated ceasefire agreement, the memorandum of understanding. It was a 60-day window. That went into effect. Immediately there was a little more shooting. Just trying to get that last punch in. And then kind of settled in for a little while. And there were, dust-ups that would cause us to say, well, the ceasefire agreement is tenuous. It's not a full violation of the ceasefire. Well, forget all that. There is no MOU anymore. It's almost like back to square one. Iran attacked a tanker in the Strait of Hormuz early today, forcing its crew to abandon the ship, even as the United States conducted yet another round of airstrikes targeting the IRGC over control of the strait. For 10 consecutive nights, the U.S. has attacked strategic targets in Iran, but that has not compelled Tehran to loosen its grip on the strait. Stop me if you've heard this before. Through about which a fifth of all oil and natural gas passed in peacetime. If it's not an all-out war right now, it's really close. The United States State Department has felt compelled to issue a warning. Iran and groups supportive of Iran may target other U.S. interests overseas or at locations associated with the United States and Americans throughout the world. The market reaction has been prices going up at the gas pump, Brent crude up to $88 a barrel, gallon of gas average across the United States $4, although that certainly is skewed by California's crazy gas taxes. I don't think you're seeing $4 a gallon anywhere in Mississippi right now. Though not terribly far from it, probably 25 to 40 cents away, depending on where you are. But there's a new level, a new layer to this. One of the things that we've talked about with Iran, Thomas says, and yet the Dow is up. Funny how that works. One of the things that we have talked about for months and months and months with Iran is that on Iranian soil, it's the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, that is in charge. They're the bad guys, and they are not necessarily in lockstep with the people of Iran, though they certainly have their supporters. And it has not been a country without oppression for those who are not in lockstep with the IRGC, but for the most part, they have figured out how to coexist. Not the Israel bumper sticker I'm talking about there. That was not intended. But outside of the soil of Iran, throughout the Middle East, you have terrorist organizations that are funded by the IRGC for the sake of advancing their cause within the region and beyond. And these are bad dudes. The Houthis. Iran is the largest state sponsor of terrorism of any country in the world. And one of the breeding grounds, safe havens for the Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah, all of the terrorist organizations are funded, at least in part, if not majority, by the IRGC. One of the safe havens for the Houthis is Yemen. And Yemen got into the fray yesterday. Yemen's Iranian-backed Houthi rebels on Monday announced that they were imposing a maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia in retaliation for a blockade on Yemen and a recent attack on the Sana'a International Airport. What's the significance of this? It threatens another vital waterway for global shipping. Now, the Houthis are not just some ragtag terrorist group. They're a pretty organized operation, and they have a military spokesman, Yahya Saree, who said in a video statement that the maritime ban against Saudi Arabia will be effective immediately, describing it as an equation of an eye for an eye. We don't know exactly how that embargo will work, but Houthi media is spinning it as this is in retaliation for an unjust blockade on the Yemenis for over 10 years. Here's the problem. The Saudis and the Yemenis hated each other, couldn't get along. They were blockading each other. They were still figuring out a way to do business. They were just fighting with each other for like the entirety of the relationship. Well, back in 2022, they agreed to a truce of sorts, and it made commerce a whole lot easier. But now the Houthis want to dig up an old grudge and say, well, the reason that we're doing this is because you did it to us for 10 years. Saudi Arabia's military has said that it would keep the waterway open by saying all Houthi threats against transiting vessels will be dealt with swiftly and firmly, as such threats are a blatant violation of international law and fall under acts of maritime piracy. All right, I recognize there's a lot there. In summary, we have limited passage at best with oil and gas tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. We now have the threat of limited passage of this 20-mile strait at the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula. through which a fourth, 25%, of global container trade transits. And the Houthis are saying, we're not going to let you through. Iran is not going to be teaching any self-help classes anytime soon on how to make friends and influence others. The strategy that Iran has had, because they have not gone directly after Israel, and I think that's a self-preservation. I don't think it's because their hatred for Israel has gone down. It's self-preservation. Because the United States attacks on Iran over the last 10 days have been pretty strategic. If Iran just lobs a missile into Israel, I mean, it's Wyatt Earp stuff, right? It's I'm coming and hell's coming with me in terms of Israel's response. And you know that Bibi Netanyahu's got an itchy trigger finger. For now, the U.S. has been able to keep itself at bay. And so the response from Iran has been, we're going to lob bombs and missiles at other Gulf states under the guise of, well, they are housing American troops. Be that as it may, they're launching bombs at Kuwait and Bahrain and Jordan and Saudi Arabia. This is not going to end well for Iran, is it?
I feel good. Before you grab your keys, you've got the news that matters. Back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Ceasefire text line from JR in Starkville. Richard, it seems we are almost to the point where the other Mideast nations are tired of Iran and their bullying. About time. These people have been a thorn in the flesh for hundreds of years. Look at the founding of the United States Marines. Lance and I tag teamed on an analogy during the break. Because we were chatting back and forth. It's like, and Thomas said, defined not going to end well. And it's hard to define because you have a group that is so filled with hatred for the West, for the U.S., for Jews, for Israel. And their mantra is death to the United States, death to the Israel, death to the infidel. It is a gross perversion of Islam that they practice as their battle cry or as their why. And yet they know nothing other than fighting and hatred. And so Lance said it's like kids in a bounce house that's full of those plastic balls. Like you just can't get anywhere with them. And I followed it up and I said, and the only way the bounce house gets shut down is when one kid falls out that little Velcroed strip open door and hits his head on the concrete and starts bleeding. And then a mom goes, that's enough, everybody out. And that finally brings the craziness of the bounce house ball pit activity to an end. So, what do you do that finally brings the IRGC to its knees? How do you get the Revolutionary Guard to finally cry uncle? Is it possible? It feels like the only way that is possible is to deal them such a crippling blow, and that's militarily and economically and natural resources wise, that they have no other choice. Guess where that's not palatable? Right here. We don't have the stomach for it. I say we, collectively. I mean, you've got, even within the Republican Party, this massive split as to whether or not the United States should even be involved in a conflict with Iran. Democrats are almost universally against it, if for no other reason than because Donald Trump's in charge and they hate Donald Trump. And so you do not have this. You remember 1991? The Buffalo Bills New York Giants Super Bowl in Tampa. Old stadium, the big sombrero. Whitney Houston singing the national anthem. Everybody in the stadium's got a flag. You're in the middle of the Gulf conflict. And there's just, oozing patriotism. Everybody pulling in the same direction. Our boys and girls, our sons and daughters, our men and women are fighting for freedom on the other side of the globe. There were stores in malls that existed at the time that had entire walls of T-shirts that were nothing more than bald eagle this and smoke on this Saddam, and like it was just everywhere you turn. It was nothing but patriotism. Now we get patriotic for like 10 minutes when the U.S. national team's playing in the World Cup, or we're trying to win a gold medal in hockey in the Olympics, and then we just go back to doing our thing. And I'm not saying that it's patriotic or not patriotic to support a war. It certainly is patriotic to support the men and women who are fighting in our military. The point in all of that is, at that time, and it changed, and the longer it went, the more it changed, but everybody was pulling in the same direction. Now you've got what, like 75% of Americans, give or take, that don't think we should even be in this conflict with Iran in the first place. The only way you're going to end it and get Iran to cry uncle is to deal a blow to them that is so crippling that they have no other choice. But we don't have the stomach for it. And the support doesn't exist for it. So what do you do? That's the question you're left with. What do? Do you just get out? Do you let them win? Americans have painted themselves into a fairly unenviable position. Thanks for being with us this morning. Really appreciate your interaction. Have a great day. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.